So,
all right, I'll say it when we come back.
States that still need people would be Arkansas, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Vermont, Oklahoma, Wyoming, Virginia, South North Dakota, Kansas, Iowa, and Delaware.
Thank you, Deatra. Now we're going to go to break for 4 minutes. People relax. We'll let you know when you can call in and let you put questions in the chat room. We'll be right back shortly.
We're not back yet?
No, we're back now, folks. And go ahead. You've got the mics and the spotlights and the guns and all that other stuff. And the coffee, too, Drake. Bye.
Awesome. Okay, we are back. And, Drake, we have a question that came in on Skype. And that is, if you could clarify your position on the Iceland Parliament who did not erase all mortgages.
Yes, I will. There are certain portions of those that were obtained by or from certain entities that cannot forgive the debt. And if you want to know about that, go check Iceland out and find out the particulars. There are several different particulars, and to keep this short, that's the best answer I've got for you at this point.
Right. Hey, if you don't mind, I was sitting here thinking about this, and a lot of people are talking about the mortgages and yada yada. People losing their homes, and I know I see constantly, advertisements here and there in magazines, flipping through television channels once in a while and whatnot, about purchasing foreclosed homes. And my honest opinion, now again, this is just my opinion and you can put your spin on it, Drake, is anybody who goes and buys these foreclosed homes, in my opinion, is only aiding and abetting in the theft of the property. And, that's just the way I see it.
That's about as close as it gets. Most of the foreclosures have been ruled as fraudulent, and most of the property is to be either returned or a compensation made to the original owner. So it may not be the best idea in the world to go investing in these things. Now, the only entity that you are assisting when you do so is the bank itself. The bank writes those properties down to zero and gets what they can for them. So
exactly.
That's basically where that's at.
Okay. Well, that was basically just my 2 cents. Muggsy, if you want to go ahead and start up with your questions again, because I know you still have a whole bunch of them.
All right. We have a situation with the central banks and all the liens, and it seems like it's reason to believe that these guys are going to be going belly up. Is this going to be then an opportunity for the states to take these buildings and implement their own state banks?
I would definitely suggest that they do so, but the problem is that you're talking on a state level, not a national level. The difference is that the localization that I have been stressing comes into play here. First of all, you have to realize something. According to what the original setup was, there wasn't much of a federal government. So you can expect most of what we got now to go in the trash, be done away with, turned off, however you want to look at it. That's going to leave the states primarily responsible to themselves within certain limitations. Those limitations should also offer that after the expenses for making sure that the bridges are okay, that the roads are all right, and other things of that nature are taken care of, do they have an extraordinary extra or excess amount of funds? If the people are willing, they could share those funds. That's similar to what the Fed does in the revenue sharing deal. They could share a portion of those funds with a state who does not have the population nor wealth in order to take care of what they've got going on. This would then facilitate or help just about everybody that I'm aware of. And you have to remember now, the other part of this is you have to understand that these collateral accounts are greater than our national debt. Now, you've also got private accounts as well that are going to factor into this. This country is an extraordinarily wealthy country in many ways that people are not aware of. So you have to understand that suddenly, instead of having Obama and Bush standing in the way of the release of these collateral accounts, the collateral accounts comes into play. Bingo. Then you're talking jobs, and I'm not talking about $1.98 at some burger joint, something that's along the decent level. You also have to remember that the prices and value of the money is going to change according to an equity system versus a debt system. So within all of this, you're going to have some extraordinary changes. You might be able to be considered wealthy at $15, $20 an hour. You might be considered well off at 10. This remains to be determined according to the way the financial system works itself out, plus the rest of the things that go into this. So it's a lot of them, and that should answer that question.
What about states coming up with their own monetary system, but yet each state honors each other? Is that something that would be viable for our future?
I don't see a problem with that. My suggestion, if somebody decides they want to go that direction, would be to have an American dollar printed on one side, state of Texas or wherever they're from on the other. Then you've got a national currency. It just happens to be from the state of Texas. Now, the problem that you've got is that, as I said, certain states have more wealth than others, and it's prohibited to have an exchange rate between states. So that, until that's addressed, and that's legislative and requires the people to do so, until those things are addressed, I don't know that they're not prohibited from having their own currency. But the only currencies that are recognized constitutionally is gold and silver. So, and I'm telling you right now, a few dollars in silver is heavy, and gold is even heavier. So, you know, the paper currency idea, I understand that, but it needs to be backed, and this is where the equity comes in. So these things can be addressed, but you're going to have a meeting of the minds in order to understand that it might be better to have X dollar or greenback or whatever it may turn out to be that is the national currency, that it's exchanged equally everywhere. This way you don't put an undue stress on somebody because they're from a different state. That's basically the answer to that.
What about NESARA? From what I've researched, that was a Rockefeller program to put us into the New World Order system. It was a little carrot, if you will. What do you know about NESARA?
Well, basically what you just said, that it is bogus, and I'll tell you why. Because it came from Rockefeller, it's part of the cabal, which means that it is not intrinsically going to be good for anybody. Now, that may take some time to come out, as it has taken 200 years for them to get us to the situation we're in now. So I would be leery of those ideologies. Now, it may be that certain portions of NESARA would be equitable or would be correct in terms of application with the people. Now, I'm saying with, okay? You're going to have two sides to this. You're going to have something that some people will disagree with, some people will be for, but that solves the problem of both, that they can live with it. The inconvenience is not as great as not having a dollar in our country, as an example. NESARA, you have to go into Keynesian philosophies on monetary systems before you'd understand that. That's also online, and I recommend people look into it if they want to understand that. And that's basically the answer to it.
You mentioned the bridges, and I was wondering, we know that the Dark Cabal drilled holes in the cement of the bridges to put explosives in, and there was supposed to be teams going out and removing them.
Mudsy, we're not hearing you again.
Uh-oh, the bridges.
Yes.
That there was holes drilled in the cement and explosives were put in, but there was supposed to be good guys going around and removing these explosives. Have they done so, or what is the update on that?
They're still working on it. There's a lot of bridges. You have to understand that these things, when you use the ideas that they're using to put these things together, what you have is a complete explosive device that is activated by radio waves. So you either have to have an extremely strong transmitter to do so from a distance, or you have to be able to activate them with something strong enough to penetrate the concrete or whatever they're in at closer range. So the other part of it is that a lot of these things can be activated and cleansed. In other words, there is programming involved, and if you negate the programming, it will not set anything off. So the idea, basically, I understand what it was. Now, the situation has transformed from that, because it's being addressed and addressed rapidly, to a system where you have small sleeper cells, just like you do in most terrorist groups, who have explosives at hand that are capable of taking down or severely damaging infrastructure, be that a bridge or whatever. And these little groups are supposed to go out at the time they realize that the cabal is done and take care of these things. This is where the people's eyes come in. This is where the militias come in. The police and the military are going to have their hands full doing their job. So it's going to be up to us to assist them in terms of deploying. Somebody wants to come over and put bombs on a bridge. Well, what are they going to do when they start getting shot at? That sort of remedies that. So you're going to have some problems. They're not going to necessarily be handled by the authorities you might think that would handle these. What you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of people, just regular citizens, who have been deputized and authorized to make sure that they don't do that thing. So, yeah, the last I heard was that the programs were going along very well, and that all those sorts of problems had been pretty much addressed. They developed a special technology for finding the things, so most of them have been found, no matter how well they were hidden. So, as far as I can tell, everything's looking good so far, and that's it.
What about China coming over and building and stuff? Should we be concerned with that? And why aren't we using people from the United States?
That's a good question. Now, one of the things is that each individual nation, as I understand it, as this shakes out, is going to be responsible for their own. So, you want to get a job, high steel right now pays pretty good money. So does concrete work, so does other things. You're going to find that there's going to be a lack of capable people. Now, by that I mean people correctly trained to handle infrastructure repair. An engineer can describe how you go from an old I-beam and rivet bridge to one of the more modern flex steel types of conveyances. You can combine the two, and for a great period of time, one supports the other. It's sort of a combinational deal, and these kinds of things can be done a lot less expensively than closing out a whole bridge, rebuilding it. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this. It's not going to be something where everybody's remaining unemployed. The idea is employment, okay? The idea is a combination of manufacturing, agriculture, and infrastructure